Welcome to a new feature on my channel. I don't know if this will become a recurring feature, it depends on how popular it is, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the art of bird photography. So this series is on the art of bird photography. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take an image that I've processed with basic exposure settings and other settings like some sharpening, the easy settings, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that can still be improved. So I'm taking a nearly processed image, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the finishing touches that may help you with your own bird photography. This is just a discussion basically on the art of bird photography. Here we have a great kiss kitty, and I've applied some basic exposure, tone curve, sharpening adjustments. But I still think there are a few things that can be improved about this picture. Now, before I start, I want to say I'm using darktable, but the principles I'm talking about can be applied in any editor. So this is not specific to darktable, even though darktable is my editor of choice here. So the first thing I like to do sometimes with a picture like this is I turn on some split toning. The split toning module by default has red as its color, and it really changes the photo to red. So I turn that on and off like this. And that really shows me if there's any blue color cast to the images. Sometimes there's a blue color cast. So basically I used the RGB curve with independent channels, and I decreased the blue channel a little bit. So let's turn that on. See, that gets rid of the blue color cast. And I'm not going to talk too much about the technical aspect of editing here. This is purely about the composition and artistic side of bird photography and composition. Another thing I did notice about this photo, and I think this is actually quite important, is you have this bokeh on the left-hand side here. And it's kind of bright. Now, I don't mind a little bit of variation in the bokeh. A little bit of variation in the bokeh can add a lot of character to a photo, but in this case, if you look at the bird and then in your peripheral vision, look at that spot on the left-hand side, it's a little bit bright. So what I did was I did use a mask. So I'm going to turn on this module here and see. I used a mask here to reduce the brightness of that. And I think that's so much better. That bokeh on the left just catches your eye, and I don't like that. I really don't like that bright bokeh on the left. So I just reduced the brightness of that bokeh just a little bit. And I really encourage you to pay attention to the edges of your photo if there's a lot of bright spots or other things there. It could be something to get rid of. Another thing I did actually was I noticed, and this is very important, the green background. Green is a tricky color because it's so prevalent in bird photos. So with the green color here, I want to do two things. I think the green is a little bright, so I just decided to darken the greens. There you go, I darkened the greens a little bit. And I do think the greens are looking a little gray. So I'm using the RGB primaries module, but you can use any type of color tool in your editor. And I use that tool to give a little boost or a little bit of pop to the greens. Many other modules here would work to do this as well. Maybe the color lookup table, also the color equalizer, but I like the overall look that the RGB primaries module does give to the photo, so I did that. And one final thing, which I think is important, and you may not notice it at first, is if I look in the top right corner, I feel like the bokeh in the top right corner is a little bit rough. And I don't like that rough look, so the best way to get rid of that is the soften module. And I've already applied a gradient mask and a little bit of softening. And what that does, here's the gradient mask. What that does is get rid of the texture or the roughness in the background. So I can turn that on and off. And you can see that before and after, a lot of that variational roughness is diminished with the soften module. And I feel like, especially in the corners, a little bit of rough bokeh can draw the eye and create too much unwanted distraction. I like softening the bokeh a little bit if it's a little too rough, especially if it's in the corners. I don't mind if there's a little bit of texture near the bird or more in the center, but the roughness on the edges causes a lot of distraction. So with those edits, I'm going to export this photo so you can see the before and after. They're just very small edits I've made here today. Nothing major. I've already done the major stuff, but I'm showing you the minor last few tweaks that really bring this photo to another level and make it just a little bit better. And I hope you enjoy them, and I hope they help you think about bird photography and improve bird photography from an artistic viewpoint. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.